Hey, it's Brian from Strong Tower Training, brain-based performance coach. I'm back with our low back pain series in part 2 today. So we're going to talk basically build upon part 1, talk about the position of safety again. So for a low back, what we covered in part 1, you can go back and watch that video if you haven't yet, is finding your foot position, your knee position, and your pelvic position that feels the safest. We also worked on stability, so holding on to something if you need to for the inner ear, the balance system, that helps decrease threat and increase feeling of safety oftentimes for people with inner ear challenges, which can cause scoliosis, a lot of other back issues. So we want to look at the inner ear and how stable you feel first. Then eye position, so we did eyes up, eyes down, eyes right, eyes left. Again, you can go back, watch the video, find out what works the best for you, because we're going to build on that today. So my foot position was straightforward, neutral. That's what we were working on, or for myself, that's what I picked from last time. We're going to bend the knees, and then you're hopefully finding your best position of the knees and the feet. And then also for me, I chose a pelvic tuck versus a posterior tilt versus an anterior tilt to the pelvis. So I'm going to just hold that positionally. And then what I want to focus on today is some lateral gliding. So lateral translation or gliding of the back, and also some lateral bending. So there's a lot of literature showing that when people have reduced range of motion in this lateral bend, right and left flexion in the lumbar spine, that there's an increased likelihood of low back pain. So we want to maintain that mobility, remembering though from part 1 that we want to do that pain-free. So I want you to test out your foot, knee, and pelvic position today, and then find your range of motion that's pain-free in this side-to-side bend. Okay, so lateral bending right and left. You're going maybe right up to a point of discomfort, but stop there. Don't dive into the pain zone. We want to stay pain-free as much as possible. You can also remember go slow versus fast, and a lot of times that slower movement will help people, especially restoring spinal mobility when there has been some pain historically, or even if that pain is current and chronic. So we're going to then go into some pelvic movement today and some gliding movement today in the spine. So the pelvic movement, if we go into our knee bend, again, foot position is the same. And then we're just going to go into this forward back tipping of the bowl of the pelvis, so to speak. So if you thought about your pelvic bowl, you're trying to spill milk, if it had milk in it, and tipping it back and forward. So that cereal bowl is going forward back a little bit. Okay, we want to find what feels the best there with your lateral bend then. So if we tuck the pelvis, does that feel better? Or does an anterior tilt and pushing the tailbone back, does that feel better? And so for me, the tuck definitely feels a little more stable, a little bit more comfortable. So you do what works best for you. Now we're going to stay in that pelvic position, whether it was the tuck of the tailbone or pointing the tailbone back. And then we're going to do some hip hikes. So this is just a right and left motion of the pelvis. The knees can move a little bit here, so we might start with them in a bend, maintaining either that tuck or that push back of the tailbone. And then we're going to hike the right side and the left side of the pelvis up. So this is the hand to hip thing, if you've ever seen that posture. But we're maintaining, again, tuck or tailbone back, and then side to side motion. Okay, so we have now right and left and a forward back motion. I want you to go ahead and now do a circle. So we're gonna do kind of like a hula hoop motion, but I want you to bias this towards whatever felt better to you in that positionally. So if it was left hike, pelvic tuck felt the best, that portion of the hula or the circle is where I want you to kind of push a little bit more movement or mobility into that corner. Maybe it was just straight front, okay? And then remembering eye position. So while I'm doing my reps, I should have eyes up here because that's what I picked as my best eye position from last time. And so going through, we could go up to 20, 30 reps of those feel-good pelvic circles, okay? So warming up things right below the low back often restores mobility and function right above there, actually in the lumbar spine. So now we're gonna go back and just recheck with our foot position, knee position, pelvic position, eye position that we found as the best, and go ahead and recheck your movement. So how's that lateral bend feeling? Is it increasing motion? Do you feel a little bit more comfortable or confident in it? If so, we're doing some good things, and these would be repeatable exercises to help regain that really important lateral bending, lateral flexion of the spine, the low back especially. From there, we're going to move up again, staying in the low back as a focal point. We're in our foot position, knee position, pelvic position. Again, if that's weird, you're not sure what I'm talking about, go watch video 1. That's going to help set really the frame for what we're building on here. So we're in that position. I'm going to go eyes up, and now I'm going to practice some lateral gliding. So now I'm not tilting anymore. I don't want the shoulders to tip to the side. I want to glide them to the right and to the left, as if shoulders are on a bar and I'm getting pulled by a string or a bar to the right and to the left without tipping the head side to side, okay? So pain-free again, and slower sometimes is better. So pain-free, check that lateral glide. Keep in the pelvic position. Remember eye position if there was one that was helpful and decreased pain, and practicing in that position. And then we'd come back and retest again with that foot position, knee position, hip position, eye position, and go back and see what your lateral bend is like. And if that's better, awesome. If you're doing the lateral glides and either the motion was really uncoordinated, one good thing there as a coaching point would be to maybe practice in the mirror or with a partner and actually hold a couple objects. Like if your partner held a tennis ball to the east and the west or the right and the left of your shoulders, you're going to try to glide those shoulders to the tennis ball. That's point 1. If the movement felt good, you're just trying to figure it out and coordinate it, okay? Practicing in a mirror might be helpful as well, or recording yourself and then seeing improvement over time on video. Point 2, if you're lateral gliding and it's painful, and you're just not getting a lot of range of motion there without pain, we might want to start with isometrics, and that's just a muscle tension with no movement. It'd be the same concept as far as thinking about the motion. So I would get in my foot position, stand with my shoulder to a wall, tuck the pelvis. That was just my position that felt better. Eyes up was my best eye position. And then I'm going to drive my shoulder into the wall. So I'm creating sort of that lateral glide motion, but actually not going anywhere. And oftentimes, if there was pain in the movement, taking away the movement and just teaching the muscles to create some isometric tension and build some strength there can be really useful. And then we could test that, go back to your side bend, see what that feels like, and then go to the other side, make sure you got the wall on the other shoulder, get your foot position, knee position, pelvic position, eye position set up, and then drive into the wall going the other direction with your internally generated force, getting those ab and low back muscles to work together. And then of course we come back like everything else we've done and recheck with all those positional safety mechanisms set up for you. What is your side to side bend? And so for me, a lot of what we've been doing was helpful, the pelvic circles, but this isometric was really especially beneficial for my side bend. Just felt better, seemed like the range of motion increased. So hopefully you found some of these really useful. Again, remember to practice pain-free reps. Just a few makes a big difference, and then maybe a couple to a few times a day. So if you can think about, if you're somebody like me that likes snacks, think about taking little movement snacks throughout the day, doing a couple of these, restoring your pain-free spinal mobility, and that's gonna pay big dividends long-term if we can take a little bit at a time without overdoing. Hopefully this helps you get back to whatever it is you wanna do functionally. So if this was helpful, hit the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you got a question or you found a position that was really helpful today, just drop it in the comments. Thanks.